No, no, Chen is definitely not the choice. Beastmaster is good. I'd give you that. Offlane 11 Beastmaster sounds like a good game. Lycan safe lane as well for Lilgun is pretty good for 423, so you can kind of go that route for Sanctity and just be aggressive on a push. I do worry about your hold for specifically the Storm. You only really have the Bane to handle that. You've got Grimstroke, Earth Spirit who can kind of cancel that from a decent enough range. Tiny as well with a blink can stop the grip. So it does feel like a really good Storm game. It does feel like the Broodmother might have to opt for an Orchid and force the Storm into an early BKB. And again, just force the Bane to focus the Storm every single time. But beyond that, if you don't manage to hold a Storm, I can see Azura just having a field run here. You know, we've seen Storms before, like double null or even just a single null power treads is all you need. Lilgun do take the Ember Spirit, so that is likely our mid, and they should be shifting the Broodmother to a side lane now, likely off lane for 11, I want to say, and something else for 423 unsafe with Sanctity on the Ember Spirit mid. But there is still some flex. You could still run Ember Spirit safe lane, although again, if you want to deal with a Storm Spirit matchup, Ember has a better time than Brood. You have that issue where you're a melee hero versus Storm, so level 3 Vortex double Overload is pretty darn strong against both heroes, but Ember can tank through better with a Flame Guard. So you want that matchup to come out for Lilgun to make it a bit more manageable. I mean, if you go all in on the push and say go Lycan or Beastmaster and either safe or off lane, I just feel like you don't have enough presence outside of push. You can push all you want. Your team fight isn't amazing. If AG gets something like, say, well, they ban out the Mars, but if you get something like a Mars to stop, say, the Lycan running around, which might come out for Lilgun, you kind of cover all your bases on AG. So I don't know if you can really fit it in. AG does not have last pick overall, though. So Lilgun, if they see that opening with the offlane of Wami not having enough control, a Lycan could still definitely fit in.
Hear me out, John. If AG have the Lycan left over, why don't they just take and go for the Wolfbite Tiny, which I think we saw last night in Division 2? I mean, why not, though? Why not, John? It's still completely busted. It's still ridiculous. Like, you can't kite this hero once he gets the Wolfbite. I don't know. I mean, they have not banned out Lycan, and it's almost like they're inviting Lilgun to take it. I personally would love to see them take it. I think the push potential is kind of ridiculous with Ench, Brood, and Lycan at the same time. I do see your sentiment, though. They don't really have the greatest team fight, though I don't think right now they really want a team fight. I think with these heroes, you're looking for just pick-offs. Just, you know, go for a smoke, pick off one hero, push down towers. That's all you're looking to do. I don't think you're looking for big team fights here. Lilgun, maybe this pos 1 will change things up. Either way, I think you could just get away with, again, choosing something like Lycan and just never allowing a 5v5 to happen anyway. AG do seem to have their first pick up first, though, Jonathan. I mean, you could just take Lycan for yourself and run in the off lane. I don't think it's such a bad idea for AG.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Ags buildup is still pretty good for Tiny. It's not as ridiculous as before, but it's still a really good way of having your Tiny run around. I'd like a little bit more control, though. I'd prefer Wami and something that can help hold. They ban out Mars. It's just so strange they ban out the Mars here. It feels like Mars would have covered their bases, help you hold a Brood, give you a good Inkswell combination, again, with a Storm Spirit, Earth Spirit, and a Mars jumping in. There's an option for, in as much as I don't feel like the hero's that amazing, Centaur is still an option there for Wami. He does play a pretty good Centaur. They go with a Pangolier instead. So this forces a choice now for Lilgun. Right, you pick Pango into Bane, but the Bane is really your only source of control.
Right.
And now he has to make that choice. Do you grip up Storm? Do you grip up Pangolier? You can only hold one of them, especially through the BKB that the Storm Spirit will have. So this is a great way of forcing that choice onto Lilgun. And I'll disagree with your point there, Mike. It does feel like the game, it will eventually hit a 5v5 point. You know,
Right.
we haven't seen a game where you just completely avoid fights every time. You will always have those 5v5 skirmishes. And Lilgun do take the Slaughter, which kind of stabilizes it. So there's some more AoE hold. And they've got the smash out from Slaughter. They've got a good bash to play with. Very strong on the off lane as well. So now they can hold back on DB's Tiny, make that lane a bit tougher. And they've got some pretty good minus armor strats for the Broodmother and the Ember Spirit to pile onto. So I like that last pick here for Lilgun. That is going to be 11's hero. And we will have the 4-3 Brood likely running safe lane with Sanctity going mid. Overall in the drafts, It's a lot closer now with the Slaughter. I think that ties in a lot of the issues I had with Lilgun. Gives him a good blink initiator, relieves some of the pressure on Ace 12. If you get a good stun out from the Slaughter, you can hold down the Storm long enough to burst him down. There is a good window for that. So, a lot more balance. I would actually lean towards AG though in terms of draft. I feel like once the Broodmother sort of plateaus, it becomes a pretty tough game to put on the back of the Ember. He can scale really well, and the Broodmother can scale to an extent. But I feel like just having Tiny with his clear, having Storm with his clear, even the Pangolier and the Grimstroke have pretty good wave clear, Mike. Those Spiderlings, not going to be the easiest to keep alive in a push.
Well, let's see how it goes, John. It seems like you're favoring Army Genius's draft going into this game number 1. I'm kind of going the other way. I believe in the Lilgun Brood, and I think the Slaughter pick should be very interesting going into Tiny. Obviously, melee matchup versus Tiny, versus Slaughter is never very fun. We'll see how it all pans out, though. It's going to be game 1 between AG and Lilgun starting very, very soon. And it seems like you and I are split on the drafts right now. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing is, you have a POS 1 Broodmother, right? Like, there's only so far this hero can go before it starts to fall apart. I'm with you on that one. I mean, they might put Sanctity with the kind of weight on his shoulders this game to be able to carry them through the game on the Ember. I don't think that's ever a great idea, though, to be fair. I think that's quite a dangerous kind of way to go about things for this draft 1, but it is how it's going to be. We'll get into it very soon. Game number 1. I wonder who the favorites are going into this. Like, AG, I believe, is higher ranked right now in Div 2, but I believe they're right next to each other with the same scoreline, so it's kind of hard to know.
I'd say a lot of people are looking at the Lilgun as the favorites. Honestly, I think AG's had this issue where it feels a little bit inconsistent. They drop the game in the series they've won, so it's not as clean cut. But I feel like this is a team that has a lot of room to improve. Like Narman's a really great pause for. He's got his Earth Spirit now, which I know you're a big fan of. I'm surprised you didn't gush about this pick, Mike, especially since Narman Hustler is probably one of the best, among the best Earth Spirits in the region right now.
I just don't think the hero is good, John. That's my problem. I don't think the hero is good right now. Like, I know everyone says, like, every pro's saying this is a very aggressive style of draft where you want to, rather the aggressive meta where you want to, thank you, Wami, by the way, I appreciate that. It's one of those things, like, Earth Spirit should be good, but I don't feel like it is right now, John.
That's fair. I think it's in a weird spot. I've had a lot of Earth Spirit games where it feels oppressive if it does get off to a good start, and I think the same issues lie. You always talk about Earth Spirit having to snowball. I think that same issue is still there, regardless of the changes on his scaling, right? Like, let's ignore that for now. I think the thing that makes Earth Spirit feel good is, again, as the pros say, the meta is highly aggressive. Earth Spirit's a hero that can really play around it very well. I think in this match, again, you've got Earth Spirit, you've got Pangolier, you've got Tiny who could go for Blink, and a Storm Spirit who can jump in. So you have a lot of ways of following up on that Earth Spirit roll in, or have the Earth Spirit be your secondary follow-up stun, and makes it a lot easier to kind of play that game. They have to play it pretty aggressive on AG, because once they take it slow, the Broodmother and the Enchantress, as you pointed out, will not allow them to take that game slow at all. Especially if they get that Dark Troll Summoner. Infinite Skellies for the Spiderlings with the damage they do to buildings. You're pretty much losing your map by 20. It's like you can't allow that to happen.
Well, what's the skill called when the neutrals die these days and they give you that aura? Well, what's it called again? It's like an enrage or something.
I want to say Death Trance, but I am not sure.
Everyone knows what I'm talking about. And think about that with the Spiderlings, John. Think about the buff with the Spiderlings. Like, if you have a massive army and one of those neutrals die and give the buff over, which I believe is how it works, it's kind of ridiculous how much damage you could be dealing with these Spiderlings. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the game plan is. Hands are already up, high 5 in the mid lane, but Azura, it's a bit of early harassment out as 4-2-3. Just wants to high 5 the Storm. That's all he wants.
Yeah. And you have to remember as well, of course, Narman is facing off against his fellow countrymen. Very rare opportunity for Narman. 1 Mongolian versus 5.
Well,
and you're already seeing the tips to call it, saying good luck, brother, to the other side. I am keen, and they drag 4-2-3 onto the mid brood. I mean, they almost always run the mid brood. To be fair, just feels like this is maybe a little bit more manageable for Azura. First 2 levels probably not going to feel great. Level 3 is when you can really start playing around. There is value, in fact, in even just going for higher static remnant, but double overload is still a really good time. So I'm keen to see just how much 4-2-3 can get done in this lane, because Storm, it can be bullied, but he has enough wave clear that he could just farm that lane up fine.
It certainly can. It's one of those things, right? Like, I thought it was going to be the classic Ember versus Storm matchup, but it's going to actually be the Broodmother here from 4-2-3 going into the mid lane, which should be rather interesting, and I think that's the lane we'll start with, John. You kind of mentioned the Storm should have a decent enough time, especially prior to the level 6 mark. I think the Brood just can't do anything against the Storm, per se, like, in terms of being aggressive and threatening his life. And even at level 6, right, like, kind of like you mentioned, you've got the wave clear. So unless you've got help from a buddy coming in to lock this Storm down, chances are 4-2-3 probably won't be able to, you know, go for a very aggressive kind of push into this mid lane early on.
The good news is that he's got really good move speed with Spin Web. He's got additional regen. So the harassment out from Azura isn't going to be as bad as it could be. But again, we're going to be looking for level 3 for Azura to see how far he's willing to commit for that attempt. If he gets Vortex up, Double Overload can get a good chunk of HP away. And 4-2-3 is already copying a little bit from the right click, so he's got to maybe pace himself a bit, but as long as he has the webs, he should feel pretty safe in the lane.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the top lane as well, John. I mean, DB and Varish are going to be there against 11 and Kishka. This lane I was expecting to be a little bit more difficult for DB, but at least for now he seems perfectly fine. And I guess one of the big things is if you do move in to try and go for the Bash of the Deeps, you've got Avalanche Toss, plus you've got Varish there with Inkswell at level 2, and that could be very, very intimidating to have to try and go into. So perhaps we won't see so much aggression here from the Slaughter and Ench.
Yeah, and I like what AG's done. They've blocked off the large camp, so there's not going to be an easy way for Kishka to get those impactful creeps.
Here we go.
And they're going now.
Yeah, they try to go for the Slitherine Crush, but 11's going to pay for it. DB immediately punishing there with Varish. That's what we kind of just talked about. I mean, he doesn't even have Bash the Deeps up yet, but even with Bash, I feel like it's going to be a very tough time here against this tiny Grimstroke.
You're going to need way more levels up, I think, on your Ench to get that done. The cooldown early on in Impetus doesn't give you the greatest window in that stun to get some good damage off. Unless you get a good creep again, and Kishka does not have a good camp to go for. He does have the little Vul Assassins at the least, but, you know, you don't have the big creep that you'd want down the line once the levels are up. So we'll have to see if Kishka does get the sentry off. He does have it ready. But this is a great start for DB. Lane is, you know, not the freest farm. He's not up there in the CS, but he's got a lot of denies, and he's holding his lane up against a melee matchup in a Slaughter. As long as you manage to level up, you know, start to get towards level 4, level 5 with higher levels of the tree grab, it's pretty hard to gap close then for the Slaughter.
They're going to try and apply that aggression now, but DB's still just perfectly fine. And of course, the final lane, John, bot lane, where you'll see Wami and Sanctity against each other, and they'll be supported by Ace 12 and Narman. It's like maybe a bit of a boring lane here for poor old Narman, John. I know the feeling as an Earth Spirit spammer. Not really much he can do here until you hit maybe the level 6 on the Pango. But Narman, naturally going to start rotating. We'll go for the 3-minute bounty rune. Now, I think there are plays you can make in the mid lane with this Storm. It's still not easy to kill this Broodmother off, but assuming you get the roll Boulder Smash, you might actually have enough control and damage to actually deal with 4-2-3 along with Azura.
It does feel like you'd need a lot more levels on Azura though. The damage output just isn't enough to eat through the regen you have with level 2 webs. Still, the lane itself, not the most aggressive coming out from AG. As you said, you're going to lead level 6 on Wami. This is a smooth farming lane for Sanctity, 18-3 already. Wami not too far behind, but he's not slowing down the Ember. And that snowballed start for LG. It's going to launch off the back of the Brood and the Ember. It doesn't take too much farm for Ember to start really melting heroes. You just want the Orb of Corrosion and maybe Phase Boots up. A casual Javelin would be really nice as well, but at that point, by level 6, 10-minute mark, you're going to be running down these heroes with a Broodmother on hand, and that's a scary prospect. You have to consider as well that the Corrosive Haves from the Slaughter makes that job a lot easier for the Ember.
Yeah. Speaking of, you see Kishka there on the Ench, John. He's got that the Frost Golem going on, or rather the Frost Mage. Not the greatest creep in the world, but in terms of laning, it's very, very effective. Right? You give that bonus 5 armor. It basically means that 11 should really have no chance of dying here to right-click damage from DB. It's not the most aggressive kind of creep, but I think the idea is to just give those early levels over to 11, who's already had a bit of a difficult start on this Slaughter. And later on, Kishka might get a little bit luckier with a bigger creep, but at least for now, with the way the equilibrium of the lane is, you can't really abuse a big creep anyway. So you may as well just abuse the bonus armor, at least for a little bit.
Just try to survive, try to sustain. Still not the best of times for DB. I mean, again, he's lagging behind the Ember by a pretty significant amount now, and that is a worrying sign. I do like what 11's doing here, Mike. You look at his item build-up. He has a Wraith Band and a Bracer. So he's got some armor coming through with a Wraith Band and attack speed. It's a good mix. You know, we tend to see double Bracer for durability, but 11 understands he's going to need some right click if he wants to be aggressive. This is going to give him that avenue if the opening finds itself, and Kishka does get the lightning creep now. The Harpy Stormcrafter with a chain lightning, that's going to be pretty painful for Varish to kind of trade with.
Oh, you hate going up against this creep. It's so annoying. It is so annoying to have to go against this this Harpy Stormcrafter. Mind you, the mana pool's not so high anymore, but it's still quite a bit of damage that you can keep throwing out, and it's very, very annoying to have to try and deal with here for DB and Varish. Still, they'll be fine for now though. Kishka not able to again get too much aggression off. Looking back at mid lane, props to Azura John having a very great game so far in the Storm. No real contest in the mid lane so far. You already see 4-2-3 rotating into the jungle at that level 6 mark as well. Naturally wants to be able to get that kind of efficiency going with this Broodmother. Though again, he has kind of fallen behind the Storm for now. It seems like even Azura more than comfortable to move up top with a regen rune now to try and set up a fight. The Kishka has already spotted him out. It seems like Azura not going to be able to get anything out of this. He's just going to go jungle and farm up there instead, I think. Bit of an interesting rotation from Azura. Considering where the creeps were, didn't really feel like it was ever going to work out for him, but again, he will just go farm the jungle instead for a little bit.
Yep. Unfortunate that they were spotted by the ward, the rune ward, just giving them the info that regen was on Storm, so they back off in the nick of time, not allowing Azura to start to stabilize the lane, start to get some momentum for his team. And there you go, Mike. Mid lane, you've got the Dark Troll Summoner, along with that rally on the Skeleton, so forced to fortify early. That push comes out fast with level 6 up on 4-2-3.
Zip forward though, Azura gonna try and punish his enchantment straight away, and they've got him. Kishka gonna drop immediately. Is he still trying to abuse the Skeletons to get some more damage off? He does get a fair bit off, but it is gonna cost him his own life, and I'm sure Azura will be pretty happy with that kind of trade.
Yeah. You get a little bit of gold going your way, you start to build up on the Storm. That is the power treads coming through. So a lot more presence for the Storm up front, a little bit more mana to play with. And that should allow him to now start to consider those sideline rotations. Of course, that does allow a reset here for 4-2-3 with a bottle refill. He's going to be feeling fine. Already has the Void Stone as well, working towards the Orchid. And that Orchid rework does make it really nice for Brood to just keep it damaged. We've seen that multiple times.
Nice Nightmare dodge there from Ace 12, but it's probably not going to save him as the stun is still going to land, and Narman will go for the dive in with the silence out. Ace 12 finally going to drop, but Sanctity, he might find a decent trade, and he does. In fact, Wami will have to immediately TP out. I don't necessarily call that worth there for Army Geniuses, John. Pos 4 for a Pos 5 trade, and you give a kill away to the Ember.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's solo EXP for Sanctity as well. He's got his full Orb of Corrosion up. He does go for the power tread, so no phase boots for more right click damage. But that does allow him to juggle around the mana, juggle around the HP a bit, and get some attack speed in for raw right clicks. It is still looking like a strong start as down mid.
Yeah, 4-2-3. He's a much bigger target, but can they actually get him? He'll try to run. Ingswell's going to be there, and it will land though. 4-2-3 is going to drop. It seems like Ace 12 was actually just completely unable to help. Already used all his spells up, so just couldn't do anything to help out.
And you're starting to really get shut down on the Brood, not fully. Of course, you're still finding farm, you're still working that lane well, but the answers are coming in from AG. And that does free up the side lanes. Again, we've already seen Sanctity have a great time on his Ember, but he's not ready to go around yet. And I think that's a big concern. Your side lanes are still tied up, mid is being pressured, your supports can't do much to relieve that. Even if the Inch was around, she also doesn't do enough, maybe just standing in front with a heal, but she is much more reliant on those creeps, and I think AG is starting to do a good job of just clearing out the camps, ensuring that none of those big creeps show up. And they're already, again, 1-4, less than 1k lead. The important thing now for Lilgun, Mike, is to focus in on mid. You want to play with the Spider-Mans, you want to run your Inch here and just keep pressuring that tower.
Nice kill onto Kishka. Zura and Varish take another. Plenty of control here on Lilgun. I mean, they're not really able to abuse the timings they're looking for so far. Mind you, 4-2-3 is rushing the Orchid timing, which is something you brought up during the draft phase. And well, once he has that, he may be able to finally apply that pressure he's been looking for against Azura. Azura, is he going for a preemptive BKB? Not quite, but it does seem like he might pick up a Yule Scepter.
It's a possibility. He's keeping that Void Stone open. Could go for his own Orchid, although that is a pretty double-edged sword up top. DB.
In danger. I mean, they'll chase him down. He's got a fair bit of armor here, but he's still in big trouble. 11 and Kishka will take care of it. Nice pick up onto the Tiny, who was top of the net worth board, and that one's going to feel quite nice.
Yeah, it's an important hero to shut down. You want to prevent that Tiny from snowballing. If it does get Echo Saber Shadow Blade fast, it can show around the map real quick and start farming up. 15-minute mark, you get the shard, you just have a free battle fear down bot though.
Yeah, they've got Sanctity with the silence up, but he is still perfectly fine. Just way too tanky right now as Narman. He's the one in danger. He'll be turned on, and Sanctity will take a very easy kill for himself. Zazura just needs to back off. Luckily for him, Ace 12 did not have enough mana for the Fiend's Grip, but he sure as hell is close. Still DB is going to try and rush in with Azura, but a nice Remnant away from Sanctity. Already preemptive with the Remnant. It looks like they still want to try and bait them in. They've got Fiend's Grip now up and available, so they might be able to turn something around here, but the problem is Varish is also around to try and turn this one. As Ace 12 just trying to find a way out now, but Azura is still chasing him down. He does have Nightmare, but it won't matter. They'll land the Vortex first. And Sanctity is still not within safety, as Avalanche is going to land into the silence, and they will punish Lilgun. They just stayed around way too long.
Yeah, and I like what AG is doing. They're having these skirmishes. However, they lose 2 towers in the process. Mid faults, top faults. So the map is much more open for Lilgun. They can take over that top jungle. They do at least find that bot tier 1 in exchange. So the bot jungle is a little bit more open for AG to farm for DB. But you're still hitting those map beats, those objective beats you want on Lilgun. You're still controlling the map well. You're still holding the top jungle. You're building up on this Brood. Orchid not too far off now, Mike. 21 gold away for 423. And that's the point where the Storm becomes very vulnerable. And Azura is going for his own Orchid as well. So if he does get jumped, or does not manage to get off the Vortex in a good time, gets interrupted by Nightmare, follow up with the Orchid means that you can save the grip for another target, and they will go for a bit of smoke here with 423. Maybe look to run around and show off that fresh Orchid.
I'm gonna try mid lane. Wami will be targeted as they even pop the Fiend's Grip. He does have Inkswell there to try and help him out. He's not dead yet. Wami gonna swashbuckle away, but a nice slithering crush. It's enough. Wami is gonna go down before the Rolling Thunder does get completed. And 423 will take the double kill on the Broodmother. Great setup there from Lilgun. And now, I mean, with these kind of kills, John, you can certainly start to look to take more objectives if you really want. But more importantly, Lilgun can just take over the map instead.
Yeah, I think you've got to do both. Take over the map and start constantly pressuring tier 2 towers. Because we've seen times where teams just stop the push, and that gives enough room for the enemy team to, just keep farming up, build up in their win condition, and get some momentum back their way. Lilgun's draft cannot allow that. They've got that blink up in the Slardar. They have a lot of ways of initiating and counter-initiating. AG will go for a smoke play now, though. They still have that roll on Wami. Narman can reach very far. They've got the Inkswell. Good scan, though. We'll break that off.
Very nice scan out. 11 probably going to be able to back. Oh, no, he went back in. Oh, 11, he went back in. Why? Maybe just a little bit greedy there for that large camp. They had the scan, they had the information. However, on the other side of things, now DB's been caught out. Nightmare's going to be there, but they just don't have the damage. Not without the Spiderlings, they don't have enough to take down the Tiny. And he has help on the way anyway. Mid lane, Kishka. Gonna be found out here by Wami as the roll is not gonna connect. It won't matter though, because Narman, he got the Boulder Smash off. Rolling Thunder to the backside as well, catching out Ace 12 as now they're on to 4-2-3. The Broodmother still wants to fight, but he's perma-stunned up. Wami just getting so much out of that Rolling Thunder. They'll chase down Ace 12 as well. They'll find the Bane, and now they really want the team fight. Remnant away immediately from 11 as he realizes he cannot fight right now. And instead, Kishka is going to be caught on the Enchantress, and he's gone to boot. AG, a very clean team fight, and Lilgun, they just seemed a bit all over the place.
Yeah, it's tough to fight into these highly mobile heroes. Again, your catch on Lilgun isn't particularly amazing. It's all down to the Bane with a Grip and Nightmare to break that off. Orchid use can be good, but if you're Brood gets jumped first, the Orca doesn't get to come out. And we saw that this time around with the jump in from Azura. Has the Invis rune, spots out the 11 again, but doesn't have the backup. But the 11's not backing off either.
Certainly isn't, John. We've seen this one before. He does have the blink up, so maybe he thinks he can get away, but Azura... I don't know if he saw him in that... Oh, never mind. 11's going to show again. Yeah, he thinks he's hidden right now, but he's really not. Azura going to be able to catch him out with the Vortex. Can you hold him down? It does seem like they can with the Inkswell. It's going to be more than enough. Very nice setup there once again from Army Geniuses. There's Lilgun. They are going to try and chase down Wommy in the meantime. They've got the Fiend's Grip up and available to take down this Pango. So it's a decent trade for the side of Lilgun. But that's about all they're going to get out of this.
Yeah, and it still takes their Fiend's Grip usage. It's not the lowest cooldown that gives a bit of an opening for AG to not worry about that strong single target hold. Although Azura still has to be a bit cautious here.
He does. Armin looking to move in, but chains aren't going to be there to lock him down as he is just rooted up constantly. But the roll away is going to be enough to get himself out. And Armin just perfectly fine, and unfortunately for Lilgun, missing out on another kill. It's now Azura will jump in with his Orchid onto the Ember. Does he actually have enough damage? It does seem like it though. No Sanctity. Oh, so close. The Inkswell damage though proving to be enough.
Yeah, and this is the scary point. Azura has his full Orchid up. He's just running around, locking in targets like the Ember. So it relieves some pressure from Norman, relieves some pressure from Varish to get the hold. You can rely on the Storm to jump in first, and they're just going to smoke up. No long cooldowns to wait for. They can keep running.
So they can. 11. Be very cautious down at the bot side as AG going to cut him off, and now with the smoke broken, they know he's in the tree line somewhere. He's gone. No chance of survival. And that might be a tier 2 bottom tower to drop here. As Lilgun, they will pressure the top lane instead. And oh, they've got that Dark Troll Summoner again, Jonathan. You have to address this. You can't leave it on your tier 3 tower. No, it is going to expire anyway.
Yeah. Still has a lot of time, and that damage is adding up for the Spider Links. Look at that tier 3.
Yeah, that's the thing with this draft, right? And this is what I kind of mentioned earlier, John, is you have to defend every time. You can't let them split push and try to like base race you or anything like that.
Probably needing a travel, so I think that's going to be the best way to really ensure that you've got a way to respond immediately. Although,
immediate jump in onto the Bane. Nightmare might buy a bit of time, and now the crush out. He's still alive. Wommy, he's the one in trouble now. The Rolling Thunder does make it as Azura with the double Vortex onto 2 cores. They'll control up the slider, but DB in the meantime, he got held down by a Fiend's Grip. It may not matter though. He's got Sanctity down on the Ember as he's still trying to fight back, but they've got the control. Lilgun will be able to trade. AG, they lose 2 and that'll be enough for them. They'll back out of there. Lilgun, though, still showing signs of life in this game, number 1. In fact, they're going to try for a Roshan attempt.
Doesn't take too long with the slaughter on hand. AG has a lot of ways of jumping into the pit, but they got to move fast. They did have vision out. They must have seen that entrance into the pit.
Perhaps Wommy be caught here. Inkswell will scare them off for a little bit, but for how long? It will be enough in the end. Wommy going to be able to back out. They put a stop to the Roshan happening, at least for now. Lilgun, I'm sure they'll just be happy with the rotations of Sanctity. He won't be happy with this. He gets on top immediately in Azura. He's already in with so much damage. In fact, they even found Kishka. It doesn't seem like they want to stick around for the Ench. They are going to back themselves out. They don't have the burst damage for this hero right now. In fact, 11 gonna make the jump in. Wommy with the shield crash. Now the Orchid out, zipping in and out onto the slider means he's probably just gonna die. 11's gone. Wommy will even find Ace 12 on the side, on the Bane, and it looks like it's gonna be another. AG just playing so clean right now. And they'll even find the Ench.
Radiant's middle tower.
It's just too mobile, Mike. Like, how do you stop the Earth Spirit, the Pangolier, and the Storm Spirit from just rolling around? It's so mobile, and you still only rely on the Orchid on your Brood, and pretty much just the Grip Nightmare on the Bane. You could try Slitherine Crush. It does have enough of a window and cast that you can dodge an AG, as we've seen multiple times, so now they get the pressure for Roshan. I mean, you could try to steal here with Sanctity. It is a high risk, high reward play. Roche isn't dropping too fast, so there is a window here for Lilgun to respond.
Certainly is, but can they make it in time? It just doesn't seem like it. It seems like Lilgun have accepted the fact that it is going to go. As AG do take the first Aegis of the game, and would you believe it, Jonathan? A double damage rune spawned up.
Ah, beautiful. That should really just go to DB, but the bottle's with Azura and everyone's too far, so he'll take it for himself. But as is tradition, Mike, DD after or before, and now you do have that Yules up on Azura that you mentioned. So he's got the defensive tool for the Orchid. You can't just reliably just Orchid Storm. You might actually need to expand that grip now after this spell, and that makes the game even tougher. Because you are still reliant on Ace 12 kind of finding the right angle. They've been very disciplined to not clump up to give 11 a good Slitherine crush, and they're forcing these fights in very open areas.
Yishka, Ace 12, they may be caught immediately as a Soulbind, gonna lock them both down. Great toss in from DB. Just attaching the link there with Farish as Narman. We'll have a look around for Sanctity now, but he's gonna be okay to run. Or is he? Roll, it was on target. Narman, he really wants the kill. And he's going to keep going onto the Ember, though. A nice shot with the Sleight of Fist. He's still trying to get himself out, but the silence is there now. And he's out of mana. He's been caught. Narman, the patience pays off as he is going to go down on the Ember.
Ooh.
Oh, he tried so hard, John.
Oh, he really did, Mike. And you were saying about Earth Spirit, you think it's kind of dead. And the right hands, Mike. It looks amazing.
Don't
Narman's
say that,
looking good.
Don't
maybe,
say
Mike,
that.
maybe. You gotta get good, friend.
You see how Narman's teammates are playing with him, John? Like, you see how he chased that Ember forever, and DB was always trusting he'd eventually catch him? I don't get that in pubs, unfortunately. My teammates are run straight back to the jungle. Just hit creeps.
That's true, Mike. That's true. It is a team game. You can't control your teammates in as much as you'd like to try. So, yeah, it is what it is. But Narman definitely makes that hero look so good. Like, the mobility is way too strong right now. Just the lack of hold overall from Lilgun, the lack of ways of saving besides Nightmare. It's just pretty tough. And Kishka?
Yeah, in trouble. Roll is going to connect. Kick away as well into Wami, though he doesn't actually pop the Rolling Thunder nor the Spirit Vessel. In the meantime, they have found Ace 12 on the Bane, so DB's going to pick up another. And at this stage, I feel like the draft of Lilgun, it's just completely missed its timing. Like, how do you actually win this game now? The Sanctity, sure, you can kind of rely on the Ember, John, but he's nowhere near ahead enough to try and pull this victory out quite yet.
Yeah, I think your best bet is to try to just force a fight while your Broodmother is out there. That does mean you'll be playing 4v5 for the most part, seeing how AG's clumped up, but you need to make that space to threaten the towers and drag along that Dark Troll Summoner if possible, just to clear out the objective. We've seen how fast those buildings melt. If AG's distracted, they can't respond.
Oh, nice roll in, Narman. Immediately out with the silence of Sanctity now. Gonna get Orchided up as Azura is there with the follow-up. Oh, they are torturing this Ember. Kishka now. Well, he's gonna try and back out. Narman. Again around, though Kishka, a very nice hiding spot, is gonna be able to TP up. So he'll be okay, but you've got to be more than happy with the Ember kill.
Yep. Still a big one to take. Kishka backing off. Not the biggest loss in the world here for AG to miss out on. They still have control of the triangle. We're still seeing DB farm up ridiculously. He's got his silver edge up. He's got the crit on hand. If he does manage to get the hits off, this is a very, very tough time for them to survive here on Lilgun. They're not particularly tanky up against that triangle.
Here we go, Kishka. Gonna try and survive through the output of DB, and he's gonna be fine for now. As DB's constantly been rooted in these webs. DB actually getting quite low as they're gonna jump in to try and snag that Aegis away, and he might just accept it. He'll let them take the Aegis once. But Lilgun, they want more than that. They want the real life. They'll jump in onto the Tiny. A lot of damage already being dealt, but do they have enough? DB still trying to fight back, but eventually might just drop. In the meantime, Azura, he found Sanctity on the Ember. It's not too bad of a trade so far for Lilgun. They'll go on to Narman, who tries for the TP out in time, but he's not going to make it. And now the chase is on. Lilgun finding the opening, want to keep going, but Azura, he's got balls of steel right now as he jumps back in, deleting 11, deleting the Broodmother. In fact, not quite yet. The Nightmare, it will save, but not for long. 4-2-3's gone. And Azura He'll keep going for more now. It's Ace 12. He'll try to TP, but that'll be a triple kill out for the Storm.
God. Azura's playing out of his mind, man. Like, Narman's been on point, but look at this Storm. Just going everywhere.
Yeah. Has another Vortex. Not the easiest kill in the world, but eventually they'll get it, surely. In fact, never mind. They don't have the mana output. They'll back out. And somehow that T2 mid tower will remain standing, but what does it matter though, John? AG, 9k ahead now, feeling very, very good with their own draft. And again, it feels like Lilgun, they just don't have the late game potential to really go up against AG's draft.
I mean, there are some item spikes you can hope for here for Sanctity, BKB into Ags. Maybe even a refresher is going to help the cause massively. Look at position of AG though. Again, no room to rest.
DB, Avalanche Force will do the job. Kishka was around but can't really help out. 11 though, he's going to make the jump in. I don't know about that 11. He's still trying with the BKB to control up this Tiny, but the Broodmother's now been caught out by Azura. 11, he's running out of BKB timing. He needs to run, but the chase is on. They even found Ace 12. It's Slaughter versus the world. Narman, he'll try to chase him down, but they aren't going to be able to catch him in the end. It won't matter though, because AG, they want towers, and they'll probably find some now.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
You do have to admit the Ags on the Broodmother, the snare is pretty annoying. It's breaking off those fights by the triangle, but there's nothing set up on the high ground. And DB with his right click damage also makes short work of the buildings. Now you are trying to split push here with Sanctity. Not quite the Brood pushing out, but there is some laning pressure up top at the least, and that's something that AG have to maybe respond to that shove in to ensure they don't lose a tier 3. Siege creeps are up with a lot of range creeps. Someone's got to ensure that push doesn't quite push through, and it will TP out DB. So you're lacking your big pause 1 for any sort of future engage, but you still have this really great lead. 11 to 32, 12k lead. As you said, Mike, Lilgun, late game scaling's a tough one, but they will go for a smoke play here.
They've got to try something, John. And we go, Lilgun. 11 will be on the front lines. It's just so hard to find a successful team fight here for Lilgun. 11, you know, all you've got is the Crust essentially, and he's trying to control up DB in the middle of these fights, but there's only so much the man can do. There was a counter smoke here from Army Geniuses, but they aren't going to bother trying to chase down Lilgun right now. We'll just be a little bit more patient, hoping the DB gets jumped himself.
Dire are scanning.
They will scan out, but nobody around here from Lilgun, so they know that they must be in the triangle somewhere.
Just need to make their way over. And then that snare is just so annoying. It just cuts off your ganks. It's a really good use out from 4-2-3 to ensure they've still got some control. They've still got a way of breaking up these engagements. And that is allowing the stall game to come true from Lilgun. Again, I just don't know if that stall is beneficial for them. They are getting some windows for split push. It's not going as fast as they'd want. Roche still a minute and a half away. And they are eventually going to hit their own BKB timings on 4-2-3, which will help massively in terms of just staying alive, spamming out the spells, spamming out some control. You've got the fresh BKB for Sanctity as well, 9 seconds up. So he can stand and fight and use his damage. Although,
Narman?
be cautious.
Narman? He's going to force a BKB usage. In fact, they're going to go after Ace 12 first. Rather the Bane. Take him down as Narman. He's perfectly fine. Sanctity hoping the BKB lasts, but it doesn't. Oh, it doesn't last long enough.
Oh my god.
Oh, boy. All right, Narman, he's a terror, John, this Earth Spirit. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean, it goes all the way back to what? The old Reality Rift days. Narman, he was a beast on his Earth Spirit. They are catching out Azura, though.
He's got the Yules up, though, John. He'll be perfectly fine, though. I say that 11 now going to jump in with his own BKB. DB won't mind at all. It's all right-click damage from here as a Soulbind is going to come out, but connects to no one. But it won't matter. The BKB wears off, and then you are just sitting ducks here against Army Geniuses. And all they can do is keep holding high ground. But the net worth lead continues to extend here for AG, and they may be ready to try and go high ground now.
If they don't have security of Aegis, it will respawn and pinks are up. Yep, they're gonna go for it.
Here we go. They are onto the Broodmother immediately as 4-2-3. No BKB available. Just has to run the old-fashioned way, but it's not good enough. At least they found Narman. It's something.
Yeah, it's a consolation prize, but that should still open up the rush here for AG, and they have the full AC up on DB. So more right-click speed for a Tiny, more armor to eat to kind of, remove some of the value in that corrosive haze and the right-click damage of the Ember. And Roshan, again, is up. Not going to take too long for that to fall here with the damage on DB. Was he just stuck? I saw him walking backward for a bit. Okay, there you go. I thought something happened with the snare. And Lilgun? Kishka's checking at least.
Well, he's got to check. They can't really afford for this Aegis to go the other way. In fact, Azura, though, already rushing forward. There goes the Enchantress, is being tossed around. DB takes care of it. They root him up, but it doesn't mean anything if you can't jump in. He might just go back for the Roshan, though. 11. Stun him up and give the corrosive haze over. AG, not in any form of a rush. We'll hold out, but there's your smoker. Jump in. They're going to find the Slaughter immediately. 11. He'll get the BKB off in time. It just won't matter. The right-click damage is way too high, and now they found out Sanctity. No buybacks available. Yeah, they call it GG.
Yet, it was a tough one for Lilgun. Again, the draft looked good. I felt like AG just had the hold, had the team fight, and just based on how games go, Mike, you can't really just split push for free anymore. You've got to take these engagements. The last pick Slaughter kind of fixed some of the issues on Lilgun's side, giving them some AoE control, but they didn't manage to snowball their lanes. Like, in the end, you had a mid-brood against Storm, and that just gave Storm really good level 3 timing. He could play with Vortex in the lane. Sure, he's not going to find a kill, but it makes it very uncomfy for the Broodmother to just sit back, shove out the wave, farm the jungle, because the Storm can keep up with his laning farm as well. Like, he can clear out waves really well. And AG, not just in drafting, I think they executed really well, because there was still a window where Lilgun could have taken tier 3 towers. They had the Enchantress Broodmother, they had the mobility in the Storm, but AG just played this really aggressive style without giving up any big kills except that couple of deaths on DB. They play amazingly well, and you have to give props. I think Azura takes the MVP along with Narman. Like, Azura's 10-0-17. He was never caught out in the Storm. He was very disciplined while also being very aggressive, and the rest of the team backed them up really well here.
Yeah, but they certainly did, John. With that, we are going to head off to a very short break, but after this 10-minute break, we are going to be back with Game 2 between Lilgun and Army Geniuses. We'll see you then.